Welcome to the Troubadour Reaction Show. My name is Kirk Barbera, and my high school band teacher said that I was musically challenged. So now I'm on a mission to learn a little bit more about music, to expose myself to more music, and to try to increase my appreciation of music. Now, I am a lover of poetry and the canon, so at troubadour.studio, I do a lot of analysis of literature. So literature, painting, sculpture, I know quite a bit about. But music, I am woefully, dreadfully behind, and I'm trying to catch up a little bit. So I'm going to be listening to Bob Dylan's song, Hurricane. So I'm going to listen to that. What I normally do is I listen to the song, first time reaction, and then afterwards I will read the lyrics aloud to you, if you want to stick around, and I'll do my first impressions or my first kind of approach to it. So this is not a final analysis, which would take me several hours or some period of time, much more significantly than what I'm going to be doing with you. And the reason is I want this to be, kind of my first reaction. It's just a first interpretation, which I think there is value in the process of the first. And then if you have a deeper analysis, a deeper meaning that you think is going on, put it in the comments. Let me know. And I've learned a lot from the comments so far in other reactions. Now, I was reading a poem recently that I'm going to do a video on, or another video on, called Ode on a Grecian Urn. Ode on a Grecian Urn by John Keats. And there's a line in there, and it, made me think about my reactions and what I'm doing. And it's, heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. And what he's talking about is the depictions of paintings, little figures on Grecian urns. If you look up a Grecian urn, you'll see they always paint them with little figures of action and things going on, Olympic events or whatever. And, he's saying, heard melodies are sweet. So listen to that Bob Dylan, that's sweet. But Keats is arguing that those unheard are sweeter. So in other words, the ones you kind of see and interpret in your own mind is actually even better. Do you agree? I don't know. I'll leave that to you. Point is, I'm going to listen to some heard melodies today and try it out and see how sweet it is. And this is, again, Bob Dylan and this is a live performance. I think, I think in the description or something, it said like, it was what he, before like went out on an album or on the radio or something like that. So this is like early on. So I don't know anything about this song. So let's just dive right in.
Pistol shots ring out in a barroom night. It's a Betty Valentine from the floor above. She sees a bartender in a pool of blood, cries out, they've killed my love. Here comes the story of the hurricane, the man the authorities came to blame for something that he never done.
I have heard this song.
Heard in a prison cell, but one time he could have been.
Because I've seen the movie, Denzel Washington, The Hurricane. Okay, shoot.
Three bodies lying there, does Patty see? And another man named Bello moving around mysteriously. I didn't do it, he says, he throws up his hands. I was only robbing the register, I hope you understand. I saw them leaving, he says, and he stops. One of us had better hurry and call the cops. And so Betty calls the cops, and they arrive on the scene with the red lights flashing in the hot New Jersey night. Meanwhile, far away in another part of town, Rubin Carter and a couple of friends are driving around. Number one contender for the middleweight crown. Had no idea what kind of shit was about to go down when a couple him over to the side of the road. Just like the time before and the time before that. In Patterson, that's just the way things go. If you're black, you might as well not show up on the streets unless you wanna draw the heat.
So, I don't think I've heard this whole song. I think I've heard like
Alfred Bellow had a
refrain.
partner and he had a rap for the cops. Him and other Dexter Bradley were just out prowling around. Saw two men running out, they looked like middleweights. They jumped into a white car without a state plates. And Miss Patty Valentine just nodded her head. Cop said, wait a minute, boys, this one's not dead. So they took him to the infirmary. And though this man could hardly see, they told him he could identify the guilty man. Rubin in, bring him to the hospital and take him upstairs. The wounded man looks up to his one dying eye. You say, why'd you bring him in here for? He ain't the guy. Here's the story of the game. The man the authorities came to blame for something that he never done. Put in a prison cell, but one time he could have been the champion of the world. 4 months later, the ghetto's on flame. Rubin's in South America, fighting for his name. Well, Arthur Dexter Bradley still in the robbery game. And the cops are putting the screws to him, looking for someone to blame. Remember you murder that you saw in a bar. Remember you said you saw the getaway car. Thinking like the play ball with the law. Think it might have been that fighter that you saw running that night. Don't forget that you are white.
Captures that anxiety of being wrong for the accused.
Dexter Bradley said, I'm really not sure. Cop said a poor boy like you could use a break. We got you for the motel job and you're talking to your friend Bello. You don't want to have to go back to jail, be a nice fellow. We'll be doing society a favor. That son of a bitch is brave and getting braver. We want to put his ass in stir. We want to pin this triple murder on him. He ain't no gentleman, Jim. Take a man out with just one punch, but he never did like to talk about it all that much. It's my work, he said, and I do it for pay. And when it's over, just to suit on my way up to some paradise where the trout streams flow and the air is nice, and ride a horse along the trail. But then they took him to the jail, oh, where they tried to turn a man into a mouse.
I actually like his voice. I don't know why people complain about his voice. But it's unique.
Rubin's cards were marked in advance. The trial was a pig circus. He never had a chance. The judge made Rubin's witnesses drunkards from the slums. To the white folks who watched, he was a revolutionary thumb. And to the black folks, he was just a crazy nigger. No one doubted that he'd pull the trigger. And no, they could not produce the gun. The DA said he was the one who did the deed, and the old white jury agreed. Reuben Carter was falsely tried. The crime was murder one. Guess who testified? Bello and Bradley, and they both baldly lied. And the newspapers, they all went along for the ride. How can the life of such a man be in the palm of some fool's hand? To see him obviously framed, couldn't help but make me feel ashamed to live in a land where justice is a game. Now the criminals in their coats and ties are free to drink martinis and watch the sunrise, while Rubin sits like Buddha in a 10-foot cell, an innocent man in a living hell. That's the story of the hurricane, but it won't be over till they clear his name and give him back the time he's done. But in a prison cell, for one time he could have been the champion of the world.
Wow. Yeah, I did not expect that I had heard that. So yeah, it wasn't a first reaction, but I think I hadn't heard a lot of it. So one thing comes to mind before I do the lyrics part, there are two things that came to mind while I was listening to it. One was the movie. Well, actually, three things. One was the movie that I saw many years ago with Denzel Washington. I remember loving that movie actually a lot. I thought Denzel Washington did a great job, and it's one of those roles that people don't talk about, but it's, you know, like of his work, but it seems like one that they should. You know, his depiction of a wrongfully accused man was, you know, with pride, who was true, and I haven't seen this in like 15 years or something, but and who is, you know, struggling with this injustice and how to deal with it. And, you know, I believe he becomes very spiritual, of course, and religious. But, you know, it's just seeing his journey of figuring that out and then, you know, triumphing in the end. Now this by Dylan seems to be, my first thought is that it's a ballad, not like some of the more lyrical poem. Like I would identify some of the other poems he does almost short lyrical poems where there's a kind of multi-layeredness to it, whereas a ballad is much more just a story. And I say just a story, but it's a story told really well. And in this one is a story. You know, another, you know, simple ballad is, you know, it's almost Christmas time, is Saint Nicholas, the Christmas poem. And there's thousands and thousands of poems out there, or of ballads out there. Like, so it's a visit from Saint Nicholas. Paul Revere's Ride is a ballad, basically. You know, so Casey at the Bat is one, if you've heard that one a long time. And there's again a lot of these. So that's what it made me think of, as was more story. I think he does a lot of story versions, Bob Dylan, I assume, knowing very little about him. It seems to be he has that vibe about him. But I think this is a ballad. Okay, so this is going to be kind of longer than normal to read these lyrics. So, you know, if you stick around, great. Thanks for sticking around. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the reaction. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, like, how much of a reaction I'll be able to do. I don't think I should, because I don't know if I have anything interesting to say about a straightforward, in terms of analysis, in terms of a straightforward ballad. Now, maybe I'm wrong, so I'm going to just go for it. You know, so don't hate me for it. All right, so here we go. Hurricane, written by Bob Dylan and Jack Levy. Pistol shots rang out in the barroom night, and I remember I can visualize the scene in that movie when this is happening in the movie with Denzel Washington. Enter Patty Valentine from the upper hall. She sees the bartender in a pool of blood, cries out, "My God, they killed them all." Here comes the story. So I'm not going to sing this, but I could feel it. Like, it, you know, after listening to the song, like, da, 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 da. I'm not doing it. Okay. I respect Bob Dylan too much to ruin it with my terrible voice. Here comes the story of the hurricane. the man the authorities came to blame for something that he never done, put in a prison cell, but one time he could have been the champion of the world. Yeah, and I think that's just like, I don't know why that story's not more discussed. Maybe it was done well enough by Denzel Washington, because of all the stories in the world out there, man, wrongfully accused stories, just such a powerful, and they hit you in the gut, because it's a fear that I think a lot of us might have of, when you're out in the world, just what if that happened to you? And there's nothing you just wrong place, wrong time. Now, I think racism definitely played a role, but even without that, just that you could still relate to it in the sense of just such a bad timing and, people with bad intentions making these decisions. By the way, I don't actually know much about the real case, so I'm just taking that from the movie. And, I think the movie's based on a book that Rubin Carter actually wrote in jail. 3 bodies lying there does Patty see, and that's the Patty from up here, and another man named Bello moving around mysteriously. I didn't do it, he says, and he throws up his hands. I was only robbing the register. I hope you understand. I saw them leaving, he says, and he stops. One of us had better call up the cops. And so Patty calls the cops, and they arrive on the scene with their red lights flashing in the hot New Jersey night. Meanwhile, this is like just meanwhile. This is a story. This is like, you could make this a short story. Meanwhile, far away in another part of town, Rubin Carter and a couple of friends are driving around. Number 1 contender for the middleweight crown had no idea what kind of shit was about to go down when a cop pulled him over to the side of the road, just like the time before and the time before that. In Patterson's, that's just the way things go. That's the city he was in. And if you're black, you might as well not show up on the street unless you want to draw the heat. Alfred Bello had a partner, and he had a rap for the cops. Him and Arthur Dexter Bradley were just out prowling around. He said, I saw 2 men running out. They looked like middleweights. They jumped into a white car with out of state plates. And Miss Patty Valentine just nodded her head. Cop said, wait a minute, boys, this one's not dead. So they took him to the infirmary, and though this man could hardly see, they told him that he could definitely identify the guilty men. So the rhyme scheme is interesting. Cops around, plates, head dead, cops around. So interesting. Okay, I wonder if he does that all the time. So it's like the first 2 don't rhyme, and then I guy, hurricane, blame, done, been, world. Is he just rhyming when he wants to rhyme? Is there like a scheme to it? It's like, would that be A, B, C, C, D, D, E, F, G? Okay, let's keep going. 4 a.m, and they haul Rubin in, take him to the hospital, and they bring him upstairs. The wounded man looks up through his one dying eye, says, what'd you bring him in here for? He ain't the guy. Yes, here's the story of the hurricane, the man the authorities came to blame for something that he never done, put in a prison cell, but one time he could have been the champion of the world. 4 months later, the ghettos are in flame. Rubin's in South America fighting for his name, while Arthur Dexter Bradley's still in the robbery game, and the cops are putting the screws to him, looking for somebody to blame. Remember that murder that happened in a bar? Remember you said you saw the getaway car? You think you'd like to play ball with the law? Think it might have been that fighter that you saw running that night. Don't forget that you are white. White night, law, car, bar, car. Blame game. Flame name game. Blame. Yeah, he's just doing his own thing. I don't know if there's a rhyme or reason to it. Arthur Dexter Bradley said, I'm really not sure. Cop said, a poor boy like you could use a break. We got you for the motel job and we're talking to your friend Bello. Now you don't want to have to go back to jail. Be a nice fellow. You'll be doing society a favor. That son of a bitch is brave and getting braver. We want to put his ass in stir. We want to pin his this triple murder on him. He ain't no gentleman Jim. Rubin could take a man out with just one punch, but he never did like to talk about it all that much. It's my work, he'd say, and I do it for pay. And when it's over, I'd go just as soon go on my way up to some paradise where the trout streams flow and the air is nice, and ride a horse along a trail. And then they took him to the jailhouse where they try to turn a man into a mouse. I don't know if I understand that. Everything else seems pretty, I guess, like shrinking his stature. Like try to crush him into, this little house mouse. All of Rubin's cards were marked in advance. The trial was pig circus. He never had a chance. The judge made Rubin's witnesses drunkards from the slums. To the white folks who watched, he was a revolutionary bum. And to the black folks, I'm not going to say that. He was just a crazy you-know-what. No one doubted that he pulled the trigger. And though they could not produce the gun, the DA said he was the one who did the deed. And the all-white jury agreed. Rubin Carter was falsely tried. The crime was murder one. Guess who testified? Bellow and Bradley. And they both baldly lied. And the newspapers, they all went along for the ride. How can the life of such a man be in the palm of some fool's hand? To see him obviously framed couldn't help but make me feel ashamed to live in a land where justice is a game. Now all the criminals in their coats and their ties are free to drink martinis and watch the sun rise, while Rubin sits like Buddha in a 10-foot cell, an innocent man in a living hell. That's the story of the hurricane. But it won't be over till they clear his name and give him back the time he's done, put in a prison cell. But one time he could have been the champion of the world. And I'm just realizing now that I don't even think you could read those lyrics that are on the screen, but okay. Yeah, so I really like that. I don't know that I have a ton to say. I mean, it seems like it's some kind of protest ballad. He's obviously lamenting this horrific injustice, or that I'm pretty sure Rubin doesn't get out until the 80s, and this is done it looks like in the 70s. So, this is, I don't know what he's going off of and what the evidence is, like how much is available. Did he write this after? Did he meet Rubin Carter? I don't know. Did he read the book by Rubin Carter? I'll have to look into that a little bit more after I do this. So, and I'm eager to learn a little bit more about this. And now I want to go see that movie again. I think it's just the Hurricane or something. Anyway, I really like this, and it's, a good, solid protest song. I hope that Rubin Hurricane Carter was genuinely innocent. I think he probably was. And this is a good song. I really appreciated it. And, if you have more recommendations, I will definitely do my best. I'm going to try and do more of these. But go to troubadour.studio, look at some of my writing there, look at some of my poetry analysis. And if you're interested in joining my reading group, I'm going to lead reading groups of Don Quixote, of the great works of literature from Homer to Ayn Rand. So, check it out, join, and it's a small fee, but I think it's more than worth it. Thank you, and I will see you next time.